I'm David Allen, and this is one of a series of videos explaining the details of the proposals in my new book called The Living Vote. This one is about wasted votes, of which we have quite a few at the moment. Now, if you've been watching other videos, you'll know that the proposals include a parliament which is split between party members and independents. 75% party members, 25% independents. You'll also know that there's a different voting system proposed, which is first past the post as opposed to first past the post. And it brings with it a huge number of benefits, the ones that you wouldn't normally think of. They don't instantly occur to you. Now, I've already explained in another video about the opposites effect of having MPs from different political persuasions. But also there's a question of wasted votes. In the first past the post system, which is the one proposed in the Living Vote, when members of Parliament are elected to Parliament and they vote in Parliament, they will vote with the number of votes that they received in the election. Because first and second place candidates are elected, obviously the second place candidate has less votes than the first place candidate, and that will be reflected in their vote in Parliament. Now, at the moment, there is a massive disproportionality in the number of votes that members of Parliament get and the single vote that they have in Parliament. For example, the SNP Member of Parliament, Angus MacNeil, probably a decent chap for all I know, he's elected to Parliament with just over 6,000 votes. Then perhaps you take George Howarth, who's the MP for Knowsley in Liverpool, who's elected to Parliament with 47,000 votes. Our crazy system at the moment means that the votes of the voters of the Western Isles are 8 times more valuable than the votes of the voters of Knowsley. Now, this disparity exists throughout Parliament. But for years, we've been misled, really, that what proportionality means is equal seats. No, it doesn't. What more proportionality really means is equal representation, equal exercise of power. So if a member of Parliament gets 50,000 votes, then those 50,000 votes should count every time he votes in Parliament. And if a Member of Parliament only has 6,000 votes, then only those 6,000 votes should count. Because we need to match the support that Members of Parliament have with their voting power in Parliament. It is about voting power and not about seats. Almost all proportional systems really talk about seats, and that's not what really happens. Now, in a future video, I will explain the real pitfalls of proportional representation as we've come to understand it. But for now, this is really about the votes that are wasted now and will no longer be wasted in the future. Because what happens now, in our 650 first past the post elections, is we have the election and the winner wins. Now, in order to win, the winner only needs one more vote than second place, because there's no sense of authenticity needed for an election. If only 10 people voted and the winner got 9 and second place got 8, then they would still be a Member of Parliament, they would still be elected. So the numbers of votes aren't important, it's whether you win or not. But what tends to happen is, in many constituencies, the winner doesn't get just one more vote than is needed to win. They often get thousands of votes more, tens of thousands of votes more than they need. For example, in Folkestone and Hythe, around about 21,000 people, Conservative voters who voted for the Conservative candidate, had their vote nullified. It just didn't mean anything at all because they weren't needed. The candidate already had enough votes to win, needing something just over 14,000, getting somewhere near 29,000. Now, that's a bit of a travesty. And that can be eliminated effectively in one hit with first two past the post. Because not only does the first place candidate and the second place candidate get elected, when they vote in Parliament, they vote with the number of votes that they received in the election, which aligns the support they got much more readily with the power that they exercise. This is what proportionality means. Now, all of those votes from people who voted for a candidate that were thrown away will now become important, because as a member of Parliament uses your vote every time they vote in Parliament, your vote lives for the entire Parliament. So wasted votes are completely eliminated. Now, let me just add another word of it, because some people regard wasted votes as votes that are for a candidate that didn't win. That is not a wasted vote. That is a vote that was needed. In fact, they needed more. So there's a very simple way to tell whether or not a vote is a wasted vote or not. Just multiply it and see if it makes any difference. So, for example, if we have a candidate with 25,000 votes, and they only needed, say, 15,000 votes in order to win that election, if their total vote was multiplied, so they got 25,000 votes, multiply it by 4, make it 100,000 votes. Did it make any difference? No. Not one jot. Now take a vote for a candidate that was unsuccessful. Let's say a candidate that in this particular election got 5,000 votes. Now multiply those votes by 10. Would that have made any difference? Well, yes, they would have won. So that's the difference between a wasted vote and what would be a failed vote, if you like, an ineffective vote. You voted for somebody, they didn't win. Your vote wasn't wasted. They actually needed more of them. So, and we have a huge number of wasted votes in our election. I mean, it runs into millions, something like 7 million votes in the 2019 election were completely wasted. And that's a travesty, and it's one of the reasons why people don't vote. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.